I hope all of you out there listening to the sound of my voice are having a really good day. Today, I would like to give an opportunity to have a progressive, open discussion with a person who has worked on those front lines. And he's worked on those front lines as a provider, as a paramedic, an environment that we like to call urban. And in that urban environment, sometimes these things can stick with you. And we just want to provide you with a voice. And this person's going to provide that voice for us all. His name, Chuck Bennett. His job, paramedic. His city, St. Louis. Hello, Chuck. How are you?
Good. How are you, Doug?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to sit down and speak with you. I appreciate you giving me some time so we can hear your story in your own words.
Yeah.
What? So let's get right into it. So tell us who you are. Where did you come from?
Okay. So I got into EMS. My family is very big in this in serving the community. My dad was a volunteer fire chief. He was in the military. He was in the military. We have a military family. I have cousins and everybody that are in. So it's just we're real big in serving the community. Um, I'll be honest. Uh, I got interested. Rescue 911 influenced me, a TV show, and then before that, you know, uh, the show Emergency influenced me. But mostly my father. Our little town was 500 people, but the fire district had an ambulance, and they had coal mines, so they had a lot of runs for a small town. When I say a lot of runs, I mean they might have did 60 or 70 a year, but you know, it was enough to to where they were pretty well equipped. They got, that's what got me interested. Now getting into St. Louis, uh, I my I'm not gonna say might get my family involved, but what happened? My mother passed away, and I moved up here to St. Louis and got into school and uh, started my EMS education at the age of 18 or so. I was licensed as an EMT at 18, started paramedic school at 19, got hired at EMS uh, at the age of 20, and I was on an ambulance in the city of St. Louis, working there. Um, you know, uh, Working there and seeing things, that I had never seen before. And um, I'd been to the city, I'd been to St. Louis downtown and all that. I saw the city like I'd never seen it before. And I it depended on who I worked with. I was still young. I was developing my personality.
Mm.
If you're 20 years old, you don't have your personality or your ideas are influenced by a lot of different people.
Yeah,
'Cause
let's hit that for a hot second. All right. So there's this kid from a small community, and he's visited the so-called big city, right?
yeah,
But now he goes both feet into this job at the age of 20. Is that correct? 20?
yeah, 20.
And your first day on an ambulance,
But
if you remember that, right? Like, what did
I
that
did my
feel like?
first day. Yes, like right in third person orientation or my first day out of orient. I mean, I remember both. My first day on an ambulance just with another person was with Jocelyn Thomas on Medic 11.
Okay. Yes, Mama Thomas, right?
Yeah. And that's where I met you for the first time. That was
Yes,
your first day. I was with you on your first day on an ambulance in the city.
yes.
So, uh, and you know, I I I I, I put it like this. You know, I think they see a lot of young kids and they're like in and out the door. They didn't realize that I was gonna stay as long as I did.
Hmm.
I really didn't have intentions on staying. I was gonna go be a fireman, but once I got into doing what I was doing and the work I was doing and the actually being able to help people, in between the stuff that we like to call, what we like to call it.
You're
Uh
talking the very BLS runs?
yeah, yeah,
If,
ones
if,
that have
yeah,
would be faster or better, stuff
yeah.
like that. But there were calls also that I remember uh vividly. My first night with Jocelyn, we had a shooting in front of that church. It's on St. Louis Avenue, and they used to be on TV on Sundays. I can't think of the name of the
Uh-huh.
church anymore, but it's right. I want to say TV Huntley, but I don't think that's it. I think it's at not far from Taylor and St. Louis,
Hmm.
or that towards the east or towards the river. You turn right on to St. Louis. There were three people, two or three kids shot on the front lawn, and that's I ran that call before I ever spoke four words to Jocelyn. You know, and that's difficult.
Yeah,
That's difficult, but and she didn't hand out a lot of compliments. She didn't. She was not. She was not mean. You know, and at the end of it, she just told me I needed to move faster, and I said I okay, and sometimes I think if I move any faster, I'm going to fall down, but could me, I did. I ended up having a reputation of being very I don't know how to explain it. I got towards the middle towards the end of my career, my the people I worked with on my shift knew that if I called for help, if it was if it was me calling for help, I needed help. I
yeah.
wasn't one of those people that send me three trucks, blah blah blah, and then end up canceling them, or whatever. I
Mhm.
was, uh, I was, I got told. I'm not gonna toot my own horn, but I got told by one of my coworkers that if something happened to him, he would want me to come. And I said, why was that? He said, because you never get shaken up under. You always sound, you're always steady on the radio. You're always, and I that's the best compliment I think I could ever get. Now
Yeah.
it doesn't mean inside I wasn't ready to fall apart sometimes, but um, we're kind of skipping all over here.
No, no, no. So, no, that's good that you say that because I remember working with you and then hearing you on the radio. You sounded like a dispatcher to me. And a dispatcher has that monotone and they are steady all the time. And I paid attention to the way that sounded because it felt like that you were calm and you had control of the scene. Now, when we have these chaotic scenes in the city of St. Louis, and we're talking over 20 years ago, right?
Right,
Um,
right,
um, we may have controlled the circumstance, but on our insides, it was complete chaos. But we never saw them sweat. So no, that's an important distinction to have when you have to control a chaotic scene, and one of your first calls being a triple shooting in front of a church. Like, who can put that together coming from a small town, and now you have to handle this, and the person that's training you saying go for it, and the only way you really learn, I guess, in some cases, is to actually just do it, right?
right, right. Yeah.
So let's fast forward. So what year is this? Let's just kind of give people a time perspective. What year is this when you got started?
It was in January 1994.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
My first
so
day was
you started,
February 4th.
okay, and then you started as a EMT or paramedic.
MT.
EMT, and then as I met you as a paramedic riding with Josh, right?
I something wrong here. No, you, Dawn, come here. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're
My,
all right.
I'm losing my screen, but no, I started as an EMT,
Uh-huh.
and I was a paramedic when I met you, but I hadn't gone to hadn't gotten promoted yet.
Okay.
While and but I was I think I might have still been working on my clinicals when I met you.
Okay, so let's move it towards you start as a paramedic. Now you've been through the training and now you're working on the street and one of your first street shifts running your truck as a paramedic. What was that like?
My first street shift being well. First of all, that happened. I got promoted. I mean, I didn't get promoted, but I was licensed, and they put me on Medic 15. If you can remember that one. And I worked with some. I can't even remember his name. He was just kind of a strange guy. He was okay, but it was I felt a lot of pressure because I didn't want to mess up. I wanted to make sure that I did everything right, and I made a lot of phone calls to people, like to the hospital, to the doctor, to medical control, and I would ask other paramedics. I would, because it's scary, especially when you have this responsibility. This is an enormous responsibility. A lot of people don't realize, they dial 911, two guys show up and take you to the hospital and, put you on the monitor and do all this stuff. They don't realize the the background of all that. The um all the training, we used to make it look so easy, but it was a very difficult job. But I think back back in the day, we did it, and we did, the best we could with what we had. And I wouldn't trade anything. I would not trade anything in the world for the experience that I had. My very early experience, especially moving from place to place, working with different paramedics, working with, uh, just getting to know the city, talking in between calls, um, driving around, learning, that old map that Monroe had, the map that it wasn't a map that had all the, what
Yeah.
learning that, and I still have that. That is like imprinted in my brain,
Yeah.
you know, and it's it's a job that never leaves.
You know, you use the word responsibility, and you're out on these trucks early, and you felt the weight of trying to help people. Uh, that you hope that all this training education you got really made sense to you. And that sounded like to me that there was a level of respect for the job that you have. And I just want people that are listening to this to just remind themselves that go back to that first day and the love of respect. And we hope that you have that same love for what you do today that you did on day one, because at the end of the day, you're taking care of people who have called 911 for you to help them.
And people, what a lot of people don't realize is we meet people on their worst day a lot of times. You know, and say people say, somebody acts stupid, oh, this person. I would hear other paramedics, this person's acting stupid, crying over their baby, I said, I'm sure he was out selling Bible, stuff like that. And I said, there were times when I would say, you know, that was her baby, regardless of what he did. Whatever got him, you know, dead. Whatever the reason was, whoever did it, none of that matters to that mother. That mother lost her baby, and um, that's a disconnect that I saw between a lot that we have, and then I think it's a defense mechanism to to keep yourself from feeling anything. It's not a racist thing. I personally, I don't think it is. Now, it could be for some of them. I don't know, and I'm not gonna. I'm speaking for in general, and I'm speaking in general, like generalities. Like
Mm-hmm.
in general, when you say stuff like that, it's to keep your mind or maybe your soul, however you want to say it, from hurting for
Yeah.
that person, so you could continue on doing your job, because you could very well leave Barnes or SLU and go back and do the exact same thing that you just got done doing, and you know you'd have a shooting, and then mom or girlfriend there crying, and then you like, oh, whatever, he probably deserved it. No one deserves, anything like that. And I remember, I'm gonna tell you one thing, and I don't want you to take it wrong, but I walked up to the scene of call of a shooting.
Mm-hmm.
This guy was laying there. He had a stick in his hand, and he was the one who was shot. He was a 1049. He was dead.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked up without missing a beat. I looked at my partner. I said, "You know what he learned tonight?" And he said, "What?" I said, never bring a stick to a gunfight. And that's messed up. That comes from holding all that stuff in. And I I would never say that today. I
So,
don't think.
so, so you're talking about coping mechanisms and
Yeah.
the way that we weren't really taught how to cope,
Right.
and we just know that we had to cope because we had to come back for the next call. So
Right.
speaking of
Well,
these,
Johnny and Roy never had a problem. The emergency guys. You
yeah,
never saw that. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So
But what did you work though? Like, what parts of the city did you work in?
I worked everywhere. At first place after I got off of um, calling in every night to find out where I was Medicaid with Bill Barnett. And I credit Bill for making me the paramedic that I am because uh, Bill was a big part of making me see things through a black man's eyes.
So Bill
Because,
Barnett was an older black man,
yeah,
and you're a younger white man at the time, right?
yeah,
And what did y'all work? What side of the city was that?
we had Medicaid stations at 93
Okay.
in Union and 70. You know where
Okay.
it is.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah. So,
It's predominantly black neighborhood. What you say?
oh, yeah, I would say, yeah, probably 99.8, 99.9.
Yes.
But there was business there and stuff and industry and all that too. Um, but but Bill really, and I haven't talked to him since he retired, since I've been on, and I've been wanting to, but Bill really shaped me into. I think Bill made made me, if I can use this phrase, in his image. He helped me become a good paramedic. He helped me use common sense, my my eyes, my ears, my nose, everything to learn to try to to when you're walking in the house, you're looking at stuff, you're looking at the house, you're making an assessment of what is going on or what kind of home this is, and then you know what I mean? And what I mean by that is when you walk into a little old lady's house and there's plastic on everything, this little old lady is one of those people who is very, very protective of her home. She's going to be one of those people that didn't call for just people to come talk to because you could see that the woman was full alive, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you could, and then there's times when you walk into people's homes and they meet you at the door like you're the pizza delivery man, you know,
Yeah.
and just walk out to the ambulance. And I what I loved about being in and out of people's homes it was just so educational for me. And it killed every single prejudice that I ever had. Doing this job killed every one of them. It made me, and Bill Barnett and Jeff Davis together. Those two guys, I credit both of them with with basically raising me in EMS. I mean, I was 20, 21 years old. They were both old enough to be my father. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they could have been my father. And that was comforting to me, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And um they I just, I worked with Bill for a long time. Even when fire took over, we went to the 33s together and we worked there for a long time together.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you know, he just built a lot of people misunderstood Bill because he mumbled a lot. He he's he he reminded me of Bill Cosby, the good Bill Cosby, in the way that he in the way that he said things and did things. And when he didn't talk much, but when he did, you better listen because he knew what he was talking about. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
one of
So,
those.
so yeah, I mean, the Jocelyn's, Yvonne's, the Vals, Porters, the Bill Barnett's, and there's just a host of black men and women who were either paramedics or supervisors who really kind of shaped who we were working in neighborhoods. And I'm from St. Louis, that some of the neighborhoods I wasn't familiar with. So I can only imagine, how you felt. So let's move forward a little bit to, okay, now you've getting some experience, you're building confidence, and now you're starting to have some calls on your own and some run-ins, so to speak, right? So do you have a couple examples of some of the things that you saw that really opened up your eyes in this business?
Um, yeah, I have one really. Well, two. I had the first one was at I believe at the Area 2 police station, and yeah, they had that room with the glass, and so the was the identification room or whatever that
The
they
little lineup room or whatever?
yeah, they put us in the room next to it, but we could see inside there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was in there sleeping. I was knocked out. I heard all this noise, and I woke up, and I raised my head and I looked in there, and uh, there were three or four cops on this kid, just beating him with their batons, and I'm like, he's handcuffed. Why don't they just shut the door and let if he wants to bang his head on the wall, he'll stop eventually. He's not going to kill himself, but don't beat him with that to get him to stop. And all of that stuff for them, and I'm not a cop, and I know a few. I'm not a fan of most police officers. I do. If I wanted to be, if I would had a chance to be pulled over and I could pick a police department, it would be the city because they're too busy most of the time to mess with you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But uh, I did. I think there was a lot of stuff that went on, and I think they held us back a lot on calls that we should have been there much sooner. They would let people, you know, that's just my opinion. I can't prove that, but I can prove this. Me and Brett Lucas, the Medic 2, there was a call we got, came out as a seizure down in Soulard in the back of a hit. The guy was supposed to be in the back of a police cruiser. And in St. Louis, a police cruiser is a van, not a car. We call the vans cruisers. I don't know why they do that, but that's just St. Louis. And we got there and they open the doors and we go to really to get a look at him, and then there's a gun, and it was like a little 22 revolver of some kind, or maybe a 32. It was small, and he was shot in his upper palate. It hit his hard palate. Had it not hit his hard palate, it probably would have killed him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's handcuffed behind his back. And I don't I asked this guy several times, how'd you do this? He wouldn't answer me. I said, listen, how did you do this? He wouldn't answer me. And I finally said, I said, did the police do this to you or the security? Because he was arrested for, he was stopped by the security that was down there, which was police officers. And he was put in, that, and then a sergeant and the cruiser came to get him and stuff. So he's in the back, and we looked at them both and said, How did he get shot?" I said, "I remember looking at the sergeant's face with, and after I said, how did he get shot in the mouth? Shot? What do you mean shot?" The sergeant was genuinely surprised. The other guy wasn't. So I don't know. I can't say what happened. I tried to follow up on it, and it seemed like it was buried. You know what I mean? I couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
My trip sheet was gone. Uh, all kind. So that was one of the things that definitely that guy, and he would not admit to doing it, or he would not admit to not doing it. And I'm like, dude, there's no way you did this to yourself. This either happened before you got cuffed, or it was, like a magic bullet. I mean, there's just no, I just don't see it. I mean, I know there's people that can get out of handcuffs, but he's handcuffed behind his back.
Mm-hmm.
And
So to you, this defied logic, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So how did that make you feel? I mean, you got, your job is to take care of people, and there's this guy that appears to be in custody, but there's an unusual injury that's taking place. So how do you feel as a provider in that moment?
That was yeah. I was looked at my partner, and you can bleep this if you want. I'll just say it. That was effed up. I said, how the MF did this GD kid do this? And it just, I felt my head, my veins were just, I was just like, there's just no way. And I checked on him the next day at the hospital, and he was already discharged. And I said, was he discharged home or to the police? And, and this was a little bit before HIPAA, but they still, pulled the whole patient confidentiality thing. So I assume he was still in police custody. And I couldn't find anything more about it.
Mm-hmm. So we've been talking for the last few months off and on, and we've reconnected, which has been, fun and interesting. but you have this story and other circumstances that you want to share. And so what makes this important for you to share?
My story with EMS, uh, this was my job that I wanted to do. I wanted to be a paramedic. I made it to crew chief. I could have been a supervisor, but every time I was in a supervisor's vehicle, I was bored. I wanted to be on the ambulance. So I there was that, and then there was a desire. It was a job where I had mobility. I saw things. I met people, but eventually, what wore me down was the constant seeing young kids killing each other, the violence. You know, the violence really wore me down to the point to where sometimes I didn't even want to go to work. Um, and it took a while for that to happen, but there were people, and I would hear stuff come out, and we would get dispatched on it, and Joe and people, I won't say names, but there was a certain person on Medic 13 on my shift that would jump everything, and I talked to her one day, and I said, how do you live with all that in your head? Oh, it doesn't bother me. I said, you're kidding yourself. I
Mm-hmm.
said, because it bothers me. I said, it's just there's no way that it can't. I had a call downtown. There's a Fuel Man gas station downtown where there's no attendant. You just pay. You pull in and you pay. It's right next to it used to be a Rallies, but it's gone now. But the Fuel Man's still there, and there
Mm-hmm.
were two families from Indianapolis traveling through St. Louis. They had a Suburban. And it was nice. Had nice wheels like those big old. I call them wagon wheels because they're so big and
Mm-hmm.
they don't have very many. They're have spokes and anyway, they drove by. They came down Shoto past like 14th, and some dude saw the wheels of the car, stopped them in the middle of the street, and told them they wanted the wheel. And they said no. They drove off. So these people got in the car, followed them down Shoto, and got about to that Fuel Man, and started shooting up the two dads. And we had two ambulances. It was me and Bernie Krause on Medic 2, and it was two guys on Medic 14. They were gone now. One of them unfortunately passed away from swim. He drowned in Lake of the Ozarks. But we got there, and we got one dad, me and Bernie, and the other got the other dad. And next thing I know, I have a cop putting this guy's wife, and they were Hispanic, by the way, I don't speak a lick of Spanish,
Mm-hmm.
and her and her kids, and all I hear is me papa, daddy, crying, and I'm trying to do things, trying to get this. I'm trying to work, and hearing them calling for him was impeding my ability to work because my emotional side was starting to come out, and I almost had I did. I mean, I had tears rolling down my eyes. I opened the side door of the truck. I said, "You need to get these people the f out of here now." He said, "Well, I don't know where else to put them." I said, "They don't need to be in here with this man dying and them watching." I said, "These are kids. These are kids. Kids don't need to watch their parents die." Either and he was bloody, and
Mm-hmm.
it was just horrific, and I finally reached out the back door, and I there was a captain. I don't know if it was Fitzgerald on two, or was there two pumpers there. I grabbed him by his shirt collar. I said, "You take these people and you get them out of here. Get them out of here now, so I can go to the hospital." And I was pretty good friends with Fitz. And, I never did things like that, and he knew that I needed them out so I could go, so I could put on the mask of a paramedic again and work instead of being, upset with the family and not being able to do anything. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it makes it extremely difficult.
So 20 years later, as you reflect, and EMS is still EMS, and as I like to say, um, what advice would you give today's paramedic to assist them in their longevity?
I would say, uh, to anybody that wants to join any service, whether it be urban or um, smaller fire department, or maybe an ambulance district, in Missouri. Um, know that there are going to be calls there that are going to uh, they're going to hurt you more. You know, they are going to hurt you in ways that you won't know, don't expect. You won't expect it, but it'll come, and it may not come. It may be 5 years. It may be the first or second day. It may be 10 years. It may be 15. But there will be finally you will have that call, and it'll be the call that you'll always say, "You remember that call at blah blah blah?" Yeah, I have a ton of those, that I could go through, and I think if you're going to get into this field, um, even if you don't have depression or anything like that, I I suggest counseling regardless. Get a counselor and talk, and just uh either if I think a counselor needs to be part of the fire department or EMS. I think every service needs to have a counselor that is uh private, that you can tell him anything and it doesn't affect your job. You can, go to the counselor, sort of like a priest in a Catholic church in confession. And I think that's a lot of what we're missing. Um, I think if I had somebody to talk to, somebody that could that could take that could listen to me and take those help me deal with those demons that constantly came, in the middle of the night. And you can ask my wife. I would wake up in the middle of the night. I'd never been shot at in my life, but I would be have nightmares that I was getting shot or getting shot at or just shooting. And I was never afraid of. I would hear gunshots. I mean, just as often as I would hear, a dog bark sometimes, and they never bothered me. But maybe down deep inside that they did, clearly they did because it came out in my dream, in my nightmares. I've had a lot of counseling since I've we'll say retired, uh, a lot, and it has helped me, immensely. I am still in love with this job. This is one of the few jobs that you can get into that you can walk, you and your partner and three other guys or four off a fire truck can walk into a home and actually save a person's life. And I'm not talking pulling them out of fire. I'm talking pulling them out of eternity and back into the world. That can happen. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's 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 what kept me going at EMS. That knowing that could happen at any time.
Wow. Um, what I want to do, man, at this moment is really thank you for sharing the story. And as you share your story, I know people that are listening to this are saying to themselves, "Yeah, I've had some of those days," or "I'm just getting into this, and I know that I probably do need what I'm going to call therapeutic counseling, where you get it on a regular basis, right?"
Just 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 somebody to talk to, just a vent to,
Yeah.
but it's going to have to be somebody on your level, somebody
Yeah.
that knows, you know, and I think that would be a great addition uh, to any department, you know,
Yeah.
instead of sending you away to somebody that has no idea what you do,
Right.
like a lot of them do. So
Good.
sorry, my sinuses are acting up today.
You're good. No, you're good. You're good. No, I appreciate your time and having this podcast. I have these guests on that are people that have certain job titles and do certain parts in the EMS and fire world. But it is refreshing to get a raw perspective from a person who's done it on the street and done it in a place that, yes, we're both familiar with, but there are St. Louis cities all across this country. So I want to thank you for reaching out to me. I want to thank you for sharing your story. And I hope that the people that listen to this, especially the people that have responsibilities of EMTs and paramedics, find ways to get their employees the therapeutic counseling that they need so that these employees can have not just a productive career, but when they retire, they don't have those nightmares and those issues that
Right.
you spoke about.
Yeah. And on another note, you you have to remove the fear of people in in positions of power, you have they have to be 100% for you instead of trying to catch you into something or get you in trouble or whatever. And
Yeah.
I don't want to say anything bad. I wanted to be objective, like you
Hmm.
asked me, but that stuff does go on.
Hmm.
So, and it needs to stop. They need to be more uh, personnel centered.
Okay. I
So,
I
and I'm just one guy, but
no, I like that. Personnel centered, I think sums up what bosses need to be. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate you sharing your story. And I want to let the listeners know that the next episode of the EMS Pod with Chief Randall will be live at FDIC in Indianapolis on tax day, April the 15th. And that's going to start at 5:15. So tune in. I can't wait to hear from you. Thanks again, Chuck. Have a fantastic rest of your day.
you're welcome, and thank you for inviting me on here. You know, I really appreciate it. Um, it's this was exciting for me to do, uh, and uh, I know reaching out to you you probably thought I would be the last person that would reach out to you, and I don't know, but I always had I always liked you. I always followed your career. So and I was quiet and everything, but you know, when we worked together on the street, there was I don't know, I don't know if you remember now, but it felt like to me there was more than just we could have been friends had we had more time to be together. So I appreciate
Yes.
you reciprocating my not contacting you and feeling the same way. And I am proud of you. I am, you are one of my I'm not going to say idol because I have been around longer than you in this business.
Right.
But that being said, that doesn't mean I know more. I think you just are a genuine person, and I love you for that. So
Well, I appreciate it. And we do have a friendship, Chuck, whether you like it or not.
yeah,
So enjoy your day. Tell the business I said hi and have a great
well,
rest of your day, okay?
yeah. You
All right,
thank
man.
you very much.
Thank you. That's us. We're out.